Vietnam is divided into 59 tin are provinces. Trading. This is a market. These are people trading fish on the beach. The trading comes from China, Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, and other countries, and goes to Japan, US, China, Australia, Singapore, and other countries. These people are selling a lot of fish because 50% of Vietnamese workers are farmers or fishermen. Here they are measuring rice. Vietnam is the third largest rice exporter in the world. Money, or dong. Money is called dong in Vietnam. If you hold it up to the light, you see images. Time difference, or time zone. Vietnam is in the Mountain Time Zone, or as they call it, Greenwich Mean Time. Wildlife. Saola, related to cattle and antelope, goat-sized. This is a Dauk langur. Color helps other monkeys to see each other through trees, and it's endangered. This is a leopard gecko, common as pets worldwide.
I'm the Vietnamese national animal. You gotta watch out.
Doe communicates with whistles and screams, and sometimes eats prey alive. Here are the screams. The Vietnam War. Vietnam was split into North and South Vietnam. They had an election to unify the countries. Communist Ho Chi Minh versus anti-communist Ngo Dinh Diem. The U.S. government was worried Ho Chi Minh was going to win. Then U.S. President Eisenhower worked and became close with Diem. South Vietnam did not like Ngo Dinh Diem because he was Catholic and gave Catholics advantages Buddhists didn't get. So he didn't participate in the election and declared himself President of South Vietnam. After Diem became president, North Vietnam rebels started to launch raids and surprise attacks across the border. They called themselves the Viet Cong. In 1961, President Kennedy supported Diem's government. He sent the Army and Air Force to train pilots. After that, Diem ordered ARMY troops to shoot into the crowd of protesters. 9 people died. President Kennedy agreed to support a military group to get rid of Diem. 2 weeks later, President Kennedy was assassinated, so Lyndon Johnson became president. He wanted to do the same thing as Kennedy, but what happened in 1964 changed it. General William Westmoreland was put in charge of U.S. military forces in Vietnam. The next month, 5,000 troops were sent to Vietnam, making a total of 21,000. In July, he sent the USS Maddox on a reconnaissance mission. In August, the ship reported being attacked by Vietnamese torpedo ships, so Westmoreland sent another ship, the Turner Joy. 2 days later, another attack was reported. The U.S. was now in the war. This is my grandpa. He fought in the war. Here he is at paratrooper school. President Johnson started Operation Rolling Thunder. Bombers bombed dozens of targets in North Vietnam, as well as many weapons stores and bridges to block weapons from China and the rest of the Soviet Union. The Viet Cong fought harder, so Westmoreland said the U.S. needed more troops, so Johnson sent 100,000. First bombs were dropped in 1965, and by 1967 there were 4 times more bombs. The U.S. had 500,000 troops in Vietnam now. By 1968, the U.S. had dropped 643,000 tons of bombs on North Vietnam. In 1966, the NBA decided to launch missiles at U.S. fighter planes. The NBA and Viet Cong were hard to fight from the air or the ground. They dug tunnels underground and used them to store supplies, travel, hide from U.S. attacks, and for surprise attacks by jumping out and back into them. My grandpa, as a paratrooper, jumped out of airplanes and went to the jungle to find NBA and Viet Cong troops. When they were done, he would go back to the base. The NBA and Viet Cong had a lot of troops. Every year they replaced 200,000. The U.S. dropped 12 million gallons of Agent Orange, a chemical to kill all plants and cut off the Viet Cong's food supply on North Vietnam for 9 years. It turned out to be poisonous to people too, so several people got cancer, North Vietnamese and U.S. My grandpa got cancer. He's still alive though, thankfully. The North Vietnamese tunnel troops were called tunnel rats. U.S. troops dropped explosives down every hole they found. There were several protesters, including Martin Luther King and Muhammad Ali. While searching for tunnel rats, U.S. troops destroyed South Vietnamese villages. The U.S. and Viet Cong agreed to have a break for the Vietnamese New Year, but the Viet Cong attacked anyway. Then President Nixon took charge by saying he had a plan to finish the war. He decided to invade Cambodia. There were protesters at Kent State University, and a guardsman fired 67 shots at the protesters. Because of this, he never invaded Cambodia. The U.S. and North Vietnam started a round of peace negotiations in Paris in 1972. President Nixon was forced out of office and Gerald Ford became president. The NBA attacked Saigon on April 29, 1975. The U.S. evacuated as many people as possible. They saved almost 7,000. The NBA and Viet Cong won the war, and 58,178 U.S. troops had died. Buildings, or architecture. This is a thatch house, a poor house outside the village. This is a house in the village with 2 girls on the porch. This is a big house for that time and place. Vietnam was poor after the war. This house belongs to a rich person. Find the sleeping puppy. This is a church. Hue and the Perfume River. This is the Perfume River. In Hue, there is a citadel built right by the perfume. Hue used to be Vietnam's capital. Hue is at the end of the river. The perfume starts in the Truong Son Mountains. Cuisine. This is pho bo, or beef and noodle soup. It is the national food. Other foods include nuoc mam, a strong fish sauce, and baguettes. For drinks, tea and nuoc chan, which is fresh lemonade and soda. Entertainment. Water puppet shows are common. The theater is called a chio. They also like to tell stories. The music is commonly played on a flute, a lute, and xylophones. People. Vietnam's population is 84.4 million. It is 27% urban and 73% rural. There are buses and a motorcycle here. People usually get around by bus and motorcycle. This is my grandpa visiting an orphanage.
Ciao.